I was thinking about this the other day, just how strange the human body can be.
Yeah.
Like, imagine you just go to bed on a random Tuesday.
Right.
You feel perfectly fine, you brush your teeth, you set your alarm, you fall asleep. And then when you wake up the next morning, half the sound in your bedroom is just simply gone.
Oh, it's a terrifying scenario.
Yeah.
And yet it happens entirely in silence.
Right, there's no alarms or anything.
No alarms, no visible injuries, and often absolutely no pain. Just a sudden, really profound isolation on one side of your head.
It's just wild to me. So today, we're going deep into this exact thing. The whole
Yeah.
deep dive is about the critical difference between that gradual, age-related hearing decline that we all sort of expect for our parents and the sudden silent emergency of just waking up with severe hearing loss.
It's such an important distinction to make.
It is, because our mission today is really to equip you to recognize this sudden hearing drop as a true time-sensitive event. We want to debunk this incredibly common and frankly dangerous assumption that it's just age or just earwax.
Yes, exactly.
And finally, we're going to explore the really surprising microscopic connection between your everyday habits, like blood flow and circulation, and the delicate structures of your inner ear.
Which is vital because the gap between what people assume is happening and what's actually happening biologically, well, it can mean the difference between getting your hearing back and losing it for good.
Yeah, and looking at my own dad, he's in his late 60s, and I constantly worry about how he interprets what his body is telling him. So let's start by drawing a hard line between the types of hearing loss.
I think that's the best place to start.
Because the slow change, that age-related decline, it makes intuitive sense to most of us, right? As people move through their 60s and 70s, they might turn the TV up a little louder.
Or they find it hard to track conversations in a noisy restaurant.
Right, exactly. In my head, I picture that like a battery just sort of slowly losing its charge over many, many years. And it usually happens to both ears at roughly the same rate, right?
That's spot on. That slow, two-sided decline affects many people as they get older. It's just gradual wear and tear on the ear over a lifetime.
Okay.
But the acute condition we're looking at today, when there's a sudden hearing drop, is an entirely different beast. It strikes completely out of the blue, very often hitting people in their 50s and 60s. It is not the battery slowly dying over a decade.
It's more like someone walked over and violently yanked the power cord right out of the wall.
Precisely. And it almost always isolates itself to a single ear.
Wow, just one ear.
Just one. And the timeline is jarring. It can happen instantaneously the moment you wake up, or it can happen over a very tight window, usually within a few hours or maybe a couple of days at most.
And it's rarely just an absence of sound, right? Like the body sends other incredibly confusing signals when that cord gets pulled.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I've heard people describe this distinct popping sensation right before the sound drops, or this intense, heavy feeling of fullness.
Yes, almost like the ear canal has been packed tight with wet cotton.
Packed with cotton. Yeah, that sounds so uncomfortable.
It is. You also frequently see the onset of severe ringing, a loud, harsh ringing or a roaring, rushing noise in the affected ear.
Right, tinnitus.
Exactly. And because the hearing structures are so intimately connected to the balance center in the inner ear, a significant number of people experience sudden dizziness or a total loss of physical balance when the hearing drops.
Which brings up the central danger here. I mean, if my dad's ear suddenly felt full and he was a bit dizzy and everything sounded muffled on one side, his immediate thought would not be, oh, this is a medical emergency.
Right. It rarely is.
He'd assume he had water trapped in his ear, or a massive buildup of earwax, or maybe a stubborn sinus infection.
And that is what we call the earwax myth. It's really the single biggest trap that adults fall into.
Because it just doesn't hurt.
Exactly. Because there is no sharp, agonizing pain, the brain tries to rationalize the symptom as just a minor annoyance. People assume it's wax or summer allergies or cold.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Or dangerously, they tell themselves, well, I am 62 now. I guess my hearing is finally going.
Oh, wow.
And they make the decision to just wait and see if it clears up by Monday.
Yeah, I've heard a story in the community that illustrates this perfectly. There's a retired teacher named Debra. She's 63. And she woke up on a Saturday morning and her right ear felt incredibly pressurized.
A very classic symptom.
Right. She described it as feeling like she had gone swimming and the water just wouldn't shake out.
And let me guess, she probably had a mild cold earlier in the week.
Yes, she did. So she had this ready-made excuse for the symptom. She completely brushed it off, went about her Saturday, ran errands, completely ignored it.
Which is such a natural reaction. We really don't want to overreact.
Totally. But by Sunday evening, she realized she literally couldn't hear her husband talking when he stood on her right side. And this faint, high-pitched ringing had started. But even then, her internal narrative was, I am not going to be a bother. I'll just wait out the week and see if my sinus is clear.
Oh, that reluctance to seek help is so common among seniors.
Right. But she happened to mention that blocked feeling to her daughter, and her daughter had actually heard about this sudden hearing drop before. She insisted Debra go get evaluated first thing Monday morning.
Good for her.
Yeah, and Debra later said that letting her daughter push her to go in was the most important decision she made all year. Not because she was panicking, but because getting evaluated replaced all her quiet anxiety with actual actionable answers.
That's a beautiful way to frame it. Waiting is the natural human instinct, but when it comes to the biology of a sudden hearing drop, waiting is honestly the absolute worst thing you can do.
Why is that?
Well, the biological clock starts ticking the exact second the sound drops.
Okay, let's unpack that biological clock.
Yeah.
I really want to understand exactly why waiting is so distracted. Like, what is actually happening on a microscopic level when the cord gets unplugged?
So to understand the urgency, we have to look at the anatomy of the deep inner ear. It's a tiny snail-shaped organ embedded deep in the skull.
Okay, snail-shaped, got it.
And inside, there are thousands of microscopic, highly specialized, tiny, delicate hairs.
Like actual hairs?
Well, hair-like cells. And they are responsible for catching sound vibrations and translating them into electrical signals for the nerve to carry to the brain.
Oh, so these tiny hairs are the actual translators between physical sound waves and the brain's language.
Exactly. And they are incredibly fragile. To function, they require two things: a completely stable, calm environment and a constant, rich supply of oxygen delivered by the blood.
Okay, calm and well-fed.
Right. But here's the critical vulnerability. The deep inner ear is supplied by a single, tiny blood vessel. It's a terminal vessel.
Meaning there's no backup route? If it gets blocked, there's no detour for the blood to take.
None at all. So a sudden hearing drop occurs when that delicate environment is abruptly compromised.
Like how?
Well, maybe a tiny microclot blocks that single vessel, instantly cutting off oxygen. Or a viral infection attacks the inner ear, causing rapid swelling. Sometimes the body's own immune system gets confused and attacks that area. In any of these scenarios, the tissue swells. And because the inner ear is encased in solid bone, the swelling has nowhere to go. It immediately crushes those delicate hairs.
Ouch. But wait, if tissue is being crushed and starved of oxygen inside my head, why doesn't it hurt? I mean, if I cut off blood flow to my finger, the body screams in pain. Why is the ear just silent?
That's a brilliant question. The inner ear lacks the specific pain receptors that you have in your skin or muscles.
Oh, really?
Yes. So instead of registering pain, the ear just registers dysfunction. When those tiny hairs are suffocating or being crushed by swelling, they misfire wildly.
Ah, I see.
That misfiring is the loud ringing or rushing sound people hear. And when the cells finally shut down, you get the profound silence.
So the ringing, that tinnitus, isn't just a random noise. It's literally the sound of those cells sending out an SOS.
It really is. And this is why doctors treat this as a highly time-sensitive event.
Because the cells are dying.
Exactly. The supportive treatments we have, which are basically strong, calming medicines aimed at rapidly reducing that inner ear swelling, are highly effective, but only if they are started quickly.
Like how quickly?
If you reduce the swelling before the hairs die, the hearing can often be saved. But if you wait 2 or 3 weeks to see if the earwax clears up, those cells may suffer permanent damage. The window for action is measured in days.
Which makes that whole wait-and-see approach so incredibly dangerous. You're literally just letting the window close.
Sadly, yes.
You know, this reminds me of another story about a 58-year-old accountant named Roger.
An accountant, let me guess, tax season.
Exactly. Deadlines everywhere, incredibly high stress. He was at his desk, heavily caffeinated, and suddenly the phone against his left ear sounded like it was at the bottom of a swimming pool.
The classic underwater symptom.
Yeah. And his immediate rationalization was entirely tied to his lifestyle. He thought, I'm exhausted. I've been staring at spreadsheets for 14 hours. It's just a tension headache messing with my ears.
Which, again, sounds so reasonable in the moment.
It does. He was fully prepared to push through the week. But he suddenly remembered a conversation he'd had with a friend whose father had lost his hearing permanently because he ignored a sudden drop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that single piece of awareness interrupted his rationalization. He left work and went to a clinic that exact same afternoon.
That is wonderful. He recognized the difference between chronic fatigue, and a real urgent body signal.
Exactly. And that brings up a really interesting bridge. You mentioned that one tiny blood vessel.
Right.
If a sudden hearing drop is driven by interrupted blood flow or swelling, then our daily habits must play a massive role in inner ear health.
Oh, they play a huge role. The inner ear is not an isolated system.
Right.
Because the blood vessels supplying it are so microscopic, they are often the very first places in the body to feel the impact of whole body blood flow issues. The exact same daily habits that keep your heart healthy and your blood moving are what keep your hearing intact.
Okay, I want to talk about stress for a second, because Roger blamed his hearing drop on work stress.
Yeah.
And honestly, it sometimes feels like a cop-out when people say stress causes everything. Like, does having a tight deadline actually put your inner ear at risk?
Well, a single stressful afternoon does not directly cause a sudden hearing drop.
Okay, good.
The connection is really about chronic, unmanaged stress. When you are constantly stressed, your body is flooded with cortisol, which drives whole body inflammation.
Which is bad.
Right. It also keeps your blood pressure elevated. Over months and years, that chronic high blood pressure damages the smooth inner lining of your blood vessels.
And those ear vessels are so tiny.
Exactly. The microscopic vessels in the ear are highly susceptible to this wear and tear, making them far more likely to experience a microclot or a spasm that cuts off that vital oxygen supply. So stress isn't the direct trigger, but it absolutely sets the stage.
That makes the mechanism so much clearer. It's about the wear and tear on the vessel walls. So, looking at wellness recommendations for adults over 50, how do we actively protect these tiny vessels? I hear a lot about diet, like fatty fish, salmon, sardines. We always hear about omega-3s, but what are they actually doing inside the ear?
Omega-3s do two crucial things for tiny blood vessels. First, they are potent swelling reducers, which helps maintain that calm environment those delicate hairs need.
Okay.
Second, they literally change the composition of your blood. They reduce platelet stickiness. They make the blood more fluid, more slippery, which is exactly what you want when blood has to navigate a single tiny terminal vessel without clotting.
Slippery blood. I actually really like that visual.
It paints a clear picture, doesn't it?
It does. And people also heavily emphasize leafy greens, right?
Yeah.
Spinach, kale, Swiss chard. I know they have a lot of vitamins, but what's the specific benefit here?
The focus there is on folate. Folate is critical for vessel health. It helps break down harmful stuff in the blood that can be toxic to the inner walls of blood vessels.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, by eating folate-rich greens, you are essentially neutralizing these compounds before they can degrade the delicate structures in your inner ear.
That's amazing. What about citrus fruits and dark berries? They always seem to make these lists.
Those are packed with vessel-supporting nutrients. When your cells process oxygen, they create byproducts that cause cellular wear and tear, almost like rust.
Cellular rust.
Yes. And the hairs in the deep ear are incredibly vulnerable to this rust. The nutrients in berries and citrus neutralize those byproducts, acting like a chemical shield for your hearing.
And I also see a lot of talk about plant-based proteins, like beans, lentils, flaxseed. Is that about blood sugar?
Yes, exactly. Wild fluctuations in blood sugar, like the spikes and crashes you get from eating highly processed foods, are devastating to small blood vessels.
Because it coats them, right?
Yes, high blood sugar literally coats the proteins in your blood vessel walls, making them stiff and narrow. Plant proteins digest slowly, keeping your blood sugar perfectly level, which keeps those tiny vessels flexible and open.
So, slippery blood from omega-3s, protected vessel walls from folate, cellular shields from berries, and flexible vessels from stable blood sugar. It's a complete defense system.
It really is beautifully interconnected.
It is. Now let's flip it. What are the things we need to gently reduce? Excess salt is usually at the top of the list for seniors. Why is salt so dangerous for the inner ear?
It comes down to fluid dynamics. The inner ear is filled with a very specific fluid that helps transmit sound waves and balance information.
Huh?
Excess salt in your diet causes your body to retain water, which increases the volume and pressure of fluid throughout your entire body, including that fluid in your ear.
Oh, I see.
That increased pressure can distort the membranes inside the ear and strain the tiny blood vessels trying to work against it.
It's like overinflating a water balloon. What about added sugars and smoking?
Well, added sugars drive up that stiffening process in the vessels, but smoking is perhaps the most immediate threat.
Because of the nicotine.
Yes. Nicotine is a powerful vessel tightener, The moment it enters your bloodstream, it forces small blood vessels to clamp down and narrow.
Which is terrible for that one tiny ear vessel.
Exactly. If you are relying on a microscopic artery to keep your hearing alive, forcing it to shrink is the absolute opposite of what you want to do.
And what about sleep? I know chronic sleep deprivation is bad for everything, but how does it affect the ear?
Sleep is when the body clears out whole body inflammation and repairs cellular damage. If a senior is chronically missing sleep, their body remains in a constant, low-level state of alarm.
So it never rests.
Right. The inner ear never gets the calm environment it needs to recover from the daily noise and stress.
Okay, we've covered the biology and the daily habits. I really want to pull all of this together into a sort of awareness playbook. If someone is listening and wants to be proactive for themselves or their parents, what are the clear, actionable steps to take away from this? I think the first one has to be know your baseline.
Oh, this is foundational. Many adults over 50 haven't had a formal hearing check in decades.
Right, because you just assume it's fine until it's not.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if you don't know exactly where your hearing sits when you are healthy, it becomes very difficult to identify a sudden, subtle drop later on. Getting a baseline check gives you and your doctor a map of your normal function.
That makes total sense. And step two seems to be, notice the pattern. The key differentiator we've discussed today is that it's just one side.
Correct. Age-related hearing loss is almost always symmetrical. It happens to both ears roughly at the same time. If you experience a sudden change in hearing, a feeling of fullness or new ringing in just one ear, that is the defining pattern of an acute event.
And that leads directly to step three, which is the most critical, same-day action.
We simply have to break the habit of waiting out the weekend.
Yes.
The rule is simple. If you wake up with sudden one-sided hearing loss, you treat it with the same urgency as you would a sudden change in your vision.
You wouldn't wait if you went blind in one eye.
Exactly. You seek evaluation that same day to see if you are inside that golden window for calming medicines.
You know, I heard about a 69-year-old woman named Carol who essentially adopted this entire mindset. She didn't do it out of paranoia. She did it to take control.
I love that.
Yeah, she started a routine of morning walks specifically to promote her blood flow. She began monitoring her blood pressure at home so she understood her baseline numbers. And she made a personal pact with herself that she would never ignore a symptom that happened on just one side of her body.
That is wonderful.
She completely shifted her mindset from fearing the aging process to actively managing her physical dashboard,
That shift from anxiety to preparation is incredibly powerful for seniors. Knowledge is really only useful when it changes how we react in the actual moment.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, I want to hit a few persistent myths that I know float around out there. Let's do a quick myth-busting rundown. First myth, if you wake up and can't hear in one ear, but you feel totally fine otherwise, it is definitely just earwax, and you should wait for it to clear.
Completely false.
I figured.
While wax buildup is possible, a sudden, stark drop, especially if it comes with ringing or a sensation of fullness, is the hallmark of a sudden hearing drop. A doctor needs to look inside your ear immediately to rule out an acute nerve or blood vessel event. Never just assume it's wax.
Okay, myth number two. Sudden hearing loss only happens to seniors who have severe underlying heart conditions.
Also false. While whole body health plays a role, this can happen to adults in their 50s and 60s who are in excellent shape and pass their physicals with flying colors.
Really? Just out of nowhere?
Yes. A viral infection or a localized immune response can strike a perfectly healthy system.
Okay, myth number three. If your hearing drops on Tuesday, but seems to get a little bit better by Wednesday morning, you're in the clear and can cancel your doctor's appointment.
Oh, this is a highly dangerous assumption.
Because it means it's unstable.
Exactly. Even if the hearing partially recovers, the fluctuation indicates that the inner ear environment is highly unstable. Your body sent up a major red flag. You still need an immediate evaluation to understand why the event happened and to prevent a permanent relapse.
Wow, okay, and the final myth. Even if you get diagnosed with sudden hearing loss, there aren't any real treatments, so going to the doctor right away doesn't really matter.
Absolutely untrue.
Good to know.
Prompt intervention, primarily with strong swelling reducers administered orally or injected by a specialist, has a proven track record of saving the delicate structures in the ear. The treatments exist, but they are entirely dependent on you showing up quickly.
That urgency completely reframes the whole issue for me.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean when we look at the big picture? From Deborah trying to wait out the weekend to Roger ignoring the symptoms at his desk, to Carol building her healthy habits. The overarching takeaway today is really about how we interpret the subtle ways our bodies communicate with us.
Yes, deeply listening to those signals.
Right. A sudden one-sided change in your hearing is not a personal failure. It is not just getting older and something you have to quietly endure. It is a highly specific, time-sensitive signal. And when we treat it as a signal to be answered immediately, rather than a symptom to be ignored, we replace anxiety with confident, empowering action.
It really is about understanding the sheer beauty and complexity of the human machine. We just learned that the microscopic blood vessels in our inner ears, these tiny lifelines for our hearing, are highly sensitive to a simple morning walk, or a serving of berries, or the decision to manage our stress. It makes you wonder, what other invisible, highly delicate systems in our bodies are quietly thriving right now, just because of the small, gentle choices we make every single day.
That is such a beautiful thought to end on.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Wellness Geek Seniors has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same gentle way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share it with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Wellness Geek Seniors reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the join button right next to the Wellness Geek Seniors logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Wellness Support Circle. Your support helps honest health awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Wellness Geek Seniors moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.